Hi, and congratulations on your 2021 Nissan Versa SR. This is a truly amazing car. Nissan redesigned this in 2020 and did a fantastic job on it. I know you're excited about your new vehicle, so let's have a closer look and see what you've got with this amazing vehicle. We're going to start here at the infotainment system. We've got a beautiful 8-inch touchscreen display here. You can see we've got satellite radio, and for my inputs, for my source, I've got AM, FM, satellite, which is free for the first 3 months. After that, if you don't want it, don't do anything. It'll just stop. If you do want it, give them a call. They're pretty good to deal with, and they'll get you all hooked up. USB 1 and 2, which I can see down below here. I've got a Type-C USB port and a traditional USB port. Anybody who's got an Android phone is already familiar with Type-C, but anybody who has an Apple phone, you can get a cord that's got a Lightning port on one end and a Type-C on the other end. Both of those will interact with the vehicle. You've got Bluetooth, auxiliary, and what you don't see here because it hasn't been set up on this vehicle yet is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Either one of those can be run using either of the USB ports down below, and we can also see we've got a 12-volt power port if you want to hook an adapter in there as well. So we're going to come back out of the sources screen. We're going to go into settings. Here's where I want to go to set my phone is into connections. Then I'm going to go to add new for Bluetooth. Once I do this, from there I can go through. On my phone, I want to go into the settings and I want to go into Bluetooth, and I'm going to look for my Sentra. I'm going to hook that up, and then as soon as I click on it, it's going to pop up with a number to confirm. Just hit pair on that and then press either OK or allow. If you have an Android phone, there will be a second screen that pops up that you're going to allow. Also, if you have an Android phone and you have a lock screen on your phone, from there you're going to want to back out to your main settings. You're going to want to go down to your security settings, and it varies from from phone to phone a little bit, but you're going to go in and you're looking for smart lock, and then you're going to add a trusted device, and you're going to add my Sentra. If you don't do this and you have a lock screen, your phone will disconnect from the vehicle within a few minutes of driving. We're going to back out of here again. If I want to change my clock, it's quick and easy. I'm just going to go into set clock manually, and you can see here I've got AM, I've got my hours, minutes. Today is the 20th of January 2021. You can adjust any of those and then just push either the physical back button here or the back button up on the screen, and then you're all good to go. You can customize a whole lot of things here, and then over on this side you've got your settings for your cameras. And if all else fails and you need to, there is a factory default there that you can go back to. I'm just going to push the audio button to jump right back out of here altogether. This gets me back here. Down below I have dual climate control, so I can set the temperature for either side. I'm going to change the temperature on this side. We can see I've now got 24.5 Celsius there, 22.5 over here. I have it set to auto. When it's set for auto, it will automatically adjust where your air is going to go and the fan speed all on its own. Right now, because it is -4 degrees Celsius outside, it's quite cold. So my fan speed is down as the vehicle is still warming up. As soon as my temperature gauge over here starts to warm up, my fan over here is going to start to move up a little bit. It may change where my airflow is going to go as well. Then it's going to do what it has to get me up to this temperature as fast as possible, and then only what it needs to do to maintain that temperature. If I want to adjust it manually, I can adjust my fan speed here or where my airflow is going to go here. Now, if I want it strictly on the front, it has its own button for quick access. The moment I do either of those, auto turns back off. So I'm going to set it back to auto because, as I mentioned, we're not warmed up yet. My heated seats are right here, and my heated steering wheel is right here in the center. So conveniently located so that you're not going to hit it with your coffee cup or whatever, but easy to access. On my gear selector down here, I've got my different modes. Now, one of the things I do want to point out is when you're in drive mode, as I can see up on the screen up here, there's a button on the back of my gear shift. Now, I'm going to push that button and watch up here, and I see an S pop up. That means I'm in sport mode. Keep in mind, you will rev a little higher on your RPMs in sport mode, but you're going to have a little more torque. It's going to be a little more responsive. It's also going to be a little bit harder on gas, so don't forget to take it back out of sport mode when you're done using that. If I switch up to reverse, I can see my backup camera shows up here. And there are predictive lines to go with the backup camera. Now, we'll get into this a little more later to go with some of the safety features, but I did want you to get an idea of what the backup camera looks, and it does come on automatically when you put it into reverse. On my steering wheel, I've got my controls for my Bluetooth hands-free. So this phone button here is going to allow me to answer a call or hang up a call at the end. My voice button is what's going to allow me to make an outbound call. Also, that voice button, depending on your phone, will allow you to access the voice recognition system on your phone to be able to control some of that. For instance, using that button, I can access Siri on my iPhone, and I can have it read a text to me or send a text completely hands-free, keeping both of my hands on the nice heated steering wheel and my eyes focused on the road. This button is going to turn on my cruise control. With that, I can then set my cruise here, set my speed, resume, increase, decrease, cancel, but you also have adaptive cruise. So with this, I'm going to turn this on and we'll see on the screen here it changes, and my distance by default is set for 3 car lengths plus safe distance. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this button to change that distance setting down to 2 or 1 or back up to 3. Now keep in mind, just as an example, 1 car length plus safe distance while doing 100 kilometers per hour is approximately 2.5 car lengths worth of space between you and the vehicle in front of you. That distance will vary depending on your speed. Now, if I turn this back off and I simply press and hold, I have normal cruise control. So not everybody is familiar with adaptive cruise, or not everybody likes it. So by pressing and holding my button here, I can see that my bars have disappeared and my icon up here has changed. So we'll set that back to normal, and we're back to the adaptive cruise. Now I'm going to pop that back over a couple screens while we look at the rest of the stuff. On the left side of my steering wheel, I have volume control. So I can access the volume.
It's all about those norms. And another thing,
Using these 2 buttons here, I can go through the presets on my radio. So it makes it very easy to go through. Now, if I'm streaming through Bluetooth or USB, these 2 buttons are going to skip tracks for any songs that I'm listening to. My OK button with the arrows around it. Now, this is a back button here, and we'll see that in a moment up on the screen, but my OK button with the arrows around is going to change my display up here. So this display is my driver display. Right now, I am on a home screen where I have a digital speedometer as well as my radio information. Now, I can see over on the side here, I've got an up and down arrow. So if I press the down, I now have a digital speedometer and my average speed. And if I press the OK button, it resets my average speed for me. I'll press down again, and there is a blank screen, and I'm going to show you how to remove this in a moment. And then one more takes me back to where I started. Next screen to the right is my average fuel economy. Now we're going to leave this alone for a moment because I want you to see why it is where it's at, because that is exceptionally high for this car. Our next screen over has my tire pressure, which will show up once I start to drive. And this is a great feature because it allows you to monitor where your tire pressure is. Now, whether you're on this screen or not, if you get a low tire because of the TPMS system on the car, it will pop up and tell you low tire, and it'll tell you which tire is low. Now, on a day like this here in Nova Scotia, where it is -4, temperatures can fluctuate, and every now and then you will pop up and get a low tire warning. And once you start to drive heading towards a gas station that has an air pump, it might go away because the tires have warmed up a little bit while you're driving. We do recommend topping them off a little bit at that point anyway, just to account for the colder temperatures here during the winter. When that pops up, it will tell you exactly what the pressure is on the tires low and which one it is. But when you show up at an air pump, simply go to that one, leave your car running, and start putting air in the tire that it says needs air. When you get to the proper pressure, your horn is going to beep once to tell you to stop putting air in. If for some reason you continue putting air in, or you went to the wrong tire, you will hit an upper limit where it'll beep 3 times in a row telling you stop putting air in, and please stop putting air in at that point. You have 2 options though. You can either do that to the other 3 tires as well, or you can start letting air back out of the tire that you were just at. And once it gets down to the proper pressure, again, the horn will only beep once telling you when to stop. Now over on the side here, we see these little arrows again. And when I hit the down, you'll notice that there's a couple of dots there underneath. So this one is our trip odometer. And again, I can reset that by pressing and holding the OK button, but we're going to come down one more. We have our traffic sign recognition. When I pass by a speed limit sign, it will actually post it up on the screen here, and if you're on this screen, it'll post it here. This way you always know what the speed limit is. Now we're going to go back up to that trip odometer. Now we saw on a previous screen, the average fuel economy is 16.3 liters per 100 kilometers, which I mentioned is extremely high. The reason is we've only gone 14 kilometers in 1 hour and 23 minutes. So I'm going to press and hold this to reset that. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to reset my fuel economy, and everything starts from scratch again. So we'll go back to where we were, and the next screen to the right is our radio information. With this, if I press the OK button, it pops up. Now it will give me here in a moment the option to switch my radio. I'm going to leave it as is for the moment, but it will give you a list of any available options. Our adaptive cruise is on the screen, but again, we've got those arrows with the dot above it, so I'm going to press up. Now we're into the safety features. So this vehicle is equipped with Nissan Safety Shield 360. What that means for you is you have forward collision warning with adaptive or with automatic emergency braking. Your forward collision warning is something you will experience. I get it a couple times a week. It all depends on your driving habits and the traffic where you're at. If I'm driving up the road heading towards home and the speed limit is 60 on the road that I'm traveling, 60 kilometers an hour, and the car up ahead of me is turning onto a side street, it's likely doing 10 to 15 kilometers an hour rounding that turn, and as soon as my Sentra here gets within range, that radar is going to say, well, we've got a warning here for a collision. So it will beep at you inside the vehicle, and it will flash a red or yellow warning up on the screen here depending on how close you are. And as soon as that vehicle finishes rounding the corner, all of that goes away and nothing else happens. The automatic emergency braking is the next step in that process. So if I was driving out on the highway and the car in front of me piled on the brakes, inside the vehicle here, it will beep at me. It will flash the warning on the screen. The gas pedal will push back against my foot a little bit, except I'm not going to feel it because it's going to be lifting to go to the brake. But if it doesn't get across to the brake fast enough, your Sentra is going to start applying the brake for you to help avoid or minimize an oncoming collision. This does work remarkably well. And as soon as your foot is on the brake, that system shuts down because you are in total control of the vehicle. You also have pedestrian detection, and that's going to work the exact same way as your automatic emergency braking, except it's going to work faster. And instead of starting to apply the brake, it's going to fully apply the brake. There are videos on the IIHS sites that you can see where this is demonstrated. The most recent one that I've seen demonstrates it in a Nissan Maxima amongst other vehicles, and it gives you an idea of how the pedestrian detection works and how well it works. Blind spot indicators for us are on the inside of the vehicle. On either side of the vehicle there, they will light up and stay lit up a dull orange as long as part of a vehicle is in your blind spot. When this happens, if for example my driver's side is lit up because there is a vehicle on my driver's side, and I signal to go left while that's lit up, my indicator is going to start flashing, and it's also going to beep inside the vehicle here. You have lane departure warning with a haptic steering wheel. So if you start to drift out of your lane, the camera up top here, which is what is used for that, as well as the pedestrian detection and the high beam assist, when it reads the lines on either side of the road while doing 60 kilometers an hour or faster, if you start to drift out of your lane, your steering wheel is going to vibrate. It's like hitting the rumble strips on the side of the highway, and it does so just to let you know that you are drifting out of your lane. And we see I just turned the auto headlights on, so we had a couple things there, and I adjusted the brightness. We've got rear cross traffic detection, which if you're backing out of a parking spot and there's anything coming at you within approximately 2.5 car lengths from either side, or 2 car lengths inside the vehicle, it will beep at you, and whichever side it's coming from, the blind spot indicator on that side of the vehicle will be flashing to let you know you need to hold up. There's something coming at you from that side of the vehicle. There's also rear sonar. So on our backup camera here, we see we've got distance markers, and as we start to get close to something, it will start to beep at you once you're within the green distance markers here. The closer you get to these red ones, the faster the beeping is going to get. Once you get down around the red ones, you're going to get into a steady tone. Now at that point, if you're still backing up, your vehicle is going to fully apply the brakes for you. It might be a little startling at first, but it is designed to avoid an impact with whatever's behind you. Now for that system, and I got to turn my fan down here. For that system, in the settings, and I'll show you where in a couple minutes, you can adjust the distance and the volume of the beeping. That way you know where you're at, and it will hold the brakes for 2 seconds when it fully applies them. And then after that, it's going to release them if your foot's not on the brake. High beam assist is the last thing that goes with this. So our lights are currently on, and I'm going to push it up into the high beam position. We see a green bullet here with an A in it. That means that I'm in high beam assist. So if I'm traveling 40 kilometers an hour or faster, I'm on a dark road and there are no cars in front of me, my headlights will automatically come on. The moment that there is a car in front of me, whether it's traveling the same direction or coming at me, it's automatically going to turn the headlights off. I love this feature on the highway because I never have to worry about somebody flashing their high beams at me, and I never have to worry about turning them on or off. That is your Safety Shield 360. Every one of those things that we've just gone over will give you visuals on this screen. Our next, we'll switch that one back to where it was for the adaptive cruise, and our next screen over is our settings. So there is no longer a button down here to turn off your traction control. If you need to do that, and we don't really recommend it, but some people do like to turn it off for various reasons, and if you need to do that, come into your settings. You do need to be parked to do this. Press OK on the VDC settings, and then you can turn that off. Now when we do, I see down below here my traction control is off, but I also see indicators over here. This means that I've just disabled all of the safety features on my vehicle. That's another part of the reason why we don't recommend turning it off. So I'm going to turn this back on, back out of the vehicle dynamic control settings. We're going to go down to driver assist. Now you want to make sure that all of these are on, but all of those safety features can be turned off. So my lane departure warning with the haptic wheel is turned on. I'm going to check my blind spot indicators, which are on. Emergency braking, so this is the front and the rear, the automatic emergency braking and the rear emergency braking. Speed limit sign is on, so it will post that sign up there. My parking aid. So, auto show sonar, I'm going to turn that on so it will display on the screen here when it comes on. The rear sonar is on. The distance is set for medium, which I'm going to leave it as it is. That's about 1 foot away from whatever's behind me. And the volume is set for medium, which is a pretty good volume for me. If you have somebody who's a little hard of hearing, you might want to increase that up to high, or you can increase it down to low as well. So we're going to back out of there. Rear cross traffic alert is on. Driver attention alert is on. So with this, what this means is if you're driving along and you're correcting your steering a few different times during a short period, so your steering wheel is vibrated several times on you, on your screen you will have a coffee cup show up, or a teacup, and it will say time for a break underneath it. What the system is trying to tell you is you're having to correct your steering an awful lot. You might not be as alert as you were when you started your drive, and it might be time for a break. Timer alert I'm going to ignore, and my temperature alert is currently on, and what that does is it pops a snowflake up here on the screen. 3 degrees Celsius or lower is when that will pop up, because that means that there is a risk of black ice or slippery roads at that point. So we're going to come back out of there. Eco mode settings. So I can customize all of this for cruise control and air conditioning. The indicator is on, the drive report is on, and I can view the history on it. TPMS settings. Right now, I've got it set for PSI. In Canada here, that's what we are used to. Oh, sorry. Our clock. Now, you can adjust the clock from here. It's just a whole lot easier to adjust it from the infotainment system. My vehicle settings. So, My lighting is all fine on this. You can turn off, because there are auto headlights, they will stay on for approximately 45 seconds after you turn off the vehicle, as we see here. I can change that to whatever I want so that they just turn off the moment I turn off the vehicle. I can shorten that time or I can extend it. I'm going to back out of here and I'm going to come into locking. Now by default, as we see here, most Nissan vehicles will automatically unlock your doors for you when you turn the vehicle off, which is what it's set for, ignition off. Now we're going to change that to shift to park, which is the preference for most people. And now I'm going to back out of here and the horn beeps unlocking. My wipers are set for speed dependent, so the faster I go, the shorter the time in the intermittent setting on my wipers here. The last thing that we see here is rear door alert. Now this is off by default. You can turn it on. If you have a small animal, a dog or anything that you take with you, or a small child, we do recommend turning it on. And in that case, I would recommend horn and alert. What that's going to do is when I open the back door is what triggers this. That will pop up with a warning on your screen here and tell you that rear door alert is activated. When you get where you're going and turn the vehicle off, if you do not get out and open that back door in a short period of time, your horn is going to start beeping at you to tell you that you have forgotten something in the back seat. Might be a child, might be an animal, could be groceries, could be a backpack, could be anything. This is only activated by opening the back door when this system is turned on. I can turn around right now and place something in the back seat and it has absolutely no effect on this system when it's turned on. Down below here we have our maintenance, and I'm going to go into oil and filter. With the new design on this, we're no longer at 8,000 kilometers. We're at 16,000 kilometers for your oil changes, which is fantastic because it's synthetic oil. We do still recommend every 8,000 kilometers for the recommended maintenance, which is all laid out in your owner's manual, and it will be recommended every time you go into the dealership. Now, it is your vehicle. Just be aware that when you do go into a dealership, they are going to have recommended maintenance based on your kilometers on your vehicle. You can decline it or you can have it done. We do recommend doing that maintenance for the longevity of your vehicle. I can customize my display, and this is where I want to go for the main menu because I want to remove the blank screen. This is a placeholder for future features that may come with the vehicle. But I'm going to remove this right now because for us it serves no purpose at the moment. Now I'm going to back out of here. If something should happen where you've messed up the settings or whatever, you're a bit concerned, you can come down and do a factory reset. So it is pretty much impossible to mess up the settings on this. A couple last things to go over here. We do have a key fob, so it's a push button ignition. When you get in, it will tell you right on the screen up here, put your foot on the brake, and while your foot is on the brake, keep it on the brake and press the start button here. Keep your foot on the brake till the vehicle starts. We do have a key fob. So your key fob has a battery inside. Those batteries normally last 2 to 4 years, depending on usage. When it starts getting low, it will pop up and tell you low key fob battery here, or you may get in and try and start your vehicle, foot on the brake, press the button, and it may pop up and say incorrect key ID. Don't panic, just let it do its thing. As soon as that message goes away, try it again, it should work. That means it's time to look at starting to replace the battery in your key fob. If you hit a point that message just keeps popping up because you haven't had a chance to switch the battery, with your foot on the brake, take the Nissan emblem on your key fob and use that to push in your start button. It will still start. Now at that point, you really should go get a new battery into your key fob. If you hit the point that the battery is dead, in the back, push this little switch over and push up. There is a key for the driver's side door to unlock it so you can get in. And then, as I mentioned, you'll use the key fob to push the start button down. To switch the battery yourself, just pop out the key and get something small and flat into one of these two sides here and give it a twist. It will pop it open. The battery inside looks a lot like a watch battery, only it's a little bit bigger. The number on the battery is your battery size. We don't recommend buying the dollar store batteries because they typically only last 3 or 4 months. Spend the money at a big box store or a pharmacy or wherever, anywhere that carries them, and get the proper battery for it. Or you can take it back into your Nissan dealer, and for $1 or $2 more, they will do it all for you, and they'll test the battery in the process to make sure that it is the correct battery and that it's the battery that's the issue. Now, on the key fob, I have a panic button, or find my car in a parking lot. I have a button to release the trunk, which there is another one here on the inside of the vehicle. There is no button on the back of the trunk itself to open it. I then have unlock, lock, and remote start from the factory. To work your remote start, you're going to hit the lock button and then hold the top button for 5 seconds. From there, it will remote start your vehicle from up to 200 feet away. You can extend that time because it's going to run for approximately 10 minutes and then shut off if you do not engage the vehicle. But every now and then, we're running behind for some reason. If you want to extend it, do the exact same thing. Lock, hold the top button for 5 seconds. It will add 10 minutes to the count from wherever you're at. So if you're only 2 minutes in, it's going to run for 12 minutes total. If you're 8 minutes in and you do it, it will run for 18 minutes total. If you change your mind and you're not going anywhere, press and hold the top button for 2 seconds. It will turn it back off. You can remote start your vehicle twice or once with one extension without ever getting in. After that, in order to reset the system so that you can remote start it again, you need to get into your Sentra, start it up, and drive it for a minimum 1 kilometer in order to reset it. I do have a whole separate video on how to work this, and it should work very well. I don't have any issue getting this vehicle started. Congratulations again on your 2021 Nissan Sentra SR. This is a great vehicle with a 2-liter motor that's in it and the horsepower that it's got. It's a really, really fun vehicle to drive. Handles exceptionally well. It's sporty, and as you saw, it's filled with features. I know you're going to absolutely love your Sentra, but if you still have any questions after watching this, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can call, text, email, or stop into 60 Baker Drive in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and any of the salespeople here will be able to help you with your questions. I hope to see you anytime that you're in for your regular maintenance, and I look forward to working with you again.